Building Chinese brands. Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Kitty Boo in Shanghai. Chinese companies know they have to build global brands to compete with multinationals started from the West. Some acquire foreign companies that already have established brands, like Lenovo buying IBM's PC division or Nanjing Automobile taking over MG Rover. Others stick with their own name, combining an aggressive brand strategy with innovative products that can appeal to Chinese and foreign consumers. This week on Thoughtful China, we'll take a close look at one of those companies, Jawha, which owns the local beauty brand Herborist. Also, Jonathan Sachet, China's CEO at Dragon Rouge, will share a few thoughts on the challenges and opportunities Chinese brands having taken their brands global. But first with us is Wang Zhuo, Executive Vice President at Shanghai Jawha United. Well, welcome to our show, Mr. Wang. My first question is, Herborist started in China as a skincare brand based on traditional herbs in China. And now it's not only doing very well in China, but also overseas in European markets like in Italy and Spain. So can you walk us through the process? What did you do to alter your brands and then to change your products to be able to grow in China?
First of all, we developed a really compelling positioning, which is a personal care brand based on traditional Chinese medicine. And based on that, we have developed a number of unique products that meet the Chinese consumers' needs so well that they love our brands. And at the same time, we also do a lot of efforts in our distribution channel, and we have grown from 0 store to more than 1,200 stores now. And in addition to that, we also do a lot of marketing communications. Originally, we did a lot of advertisement on the fashion magazine, but later on we also do a lot of TV advertising, and recently we have developed a lot of social media campaigns. And with all those efforts, and the Herborist has got a very good acceptance of not only within China, but also in a few European markets.
So here's a question from one of our Sina Weibo followers, Luning Running. And this person wants to ask, what is the proportion of e-commerce sales in your total revenue, and how do you measure digital within your media mix? By unique visitors, ROI, or something else?
E-commerce represents about 5% of our total business at this moment, but we want to grow even further. We want to grow our e-commerce as a percentage of total business to 10% or maybe 20% in the future. And we measure the success of e-commerce just like any other businesses. We want to put the E back to the business. So there's no e-business, it's the business. Their E is built in the business. So e-business is an integral part of our business in this moment.
Looks like you have quite an ambitious plan of growing your e-business sector
Yes.
from 5 to 10, maybe 20%.
Yes.
How do you plan to do that?
First of all, we probably will develop tailored products to the e-channel. And also, we will do a lot of advertising and marketing campaigns on a lot of those platforms or in the B2C platforms, either it's horizontal ones or vertical ones. So we are really ambitious, actually, and we are seeing consumers changing from shopping offline to shopping online more often than before. So this is really a big trend, and we need to adapt to this trend, and we do need to make a lot of all the efforts necessary to make it happen.
Tell me a little bit about what you mentioned on the products tailored for e-commerce. What kind of products would sell well?
Online, in the online environment, it's easy for you to tell the detail about your product. So it's easy to do upsell, easy to do cross-sell, and also people tend to buy, more SKUs, more products in online environment, because they think this is there's a bargain business, and also it's easy for the delivery. If you buy on the physical stores, you need to carry yourself, but for the online channel, the delivery people will send it to your home directly, and you don't need to bother about carrying. So we really give them some incentive to buy there.
Going overseas is obviously not the option for every company, but Herborist obviously made this choice of bringing this Chinese herb-based products overseas. Why did you make this decision, and what are the first steps you have to take?
First of all, you got to have a line of products that's really unique. They're really attractive to consumers in outside China. That's the first important thing. And the second one, you got to have a good partner, like we had in France, in European countries, the Sephora as our partner, and because they have the channels, they have the stores over there, and it's quite convenient for us to go with them. And the third thing, you got to have a dedicated team to work on the internationalization process. And I think three things: product, partner, and people.
Here is a question from Sina Weibo from Antoine Bunel, who wants to know how you position your products abroad. Not only do you face huge competition, but also there exists a negative image about Chinese brands.
Yeah, we really experienced a difficulty like this in the beginning when people, the prospects came to us, to our beauty advisor near the counters, and when they ask us, where is Herborist made? And when the beauty advisor replied, it's made in China, usually you will scare them away because of the negative association of China. But later on we found a remedy, a solution actually. This is, don't emphasize the country of origin, emphasize the city of origin, which means we tell them it's made in Shanghai. And when they heard it's made in Shanghai, they feel much better than it's made in China, and they have more confidence in these products than before.
We don't have much time left, so last question would be, what kind of advice would you give other Chinese companies who's trying to build their brands overseas?
I would say preparation, and preparation. Prepare for your products, prepare for your people, prepare a partnership that can help you.
Thanks, Zhuo. Now here's Jonathan with a thought or two about the challenges and opportunities facing Chinese companies taking brands global.
Awareness and distribution are the obvious challenges for Chinese brands going global. After all, it's hard to know what makes you different if I don't know who you are. But this is fundamentally a question of investment, which Chinese brands are showing signs they're ready to make. So then the key challenge for Chinese brands is building trust. This is less about overcoming negative stereotypes and more about communicating something authentic and credible. Chinese cosmetics are believable for foreign consumers if they're based on traditional Chinese medicine, which China is already recognized for. The same could be said for ready-to-drink teas and functional foods with similar ingredients. Another area where China already has credibility is in green technologies. Foreign consumers would be open-minded to a Chinese hybrid car or energy-efficient electronics. China is also a financial powerhouse, so banking and insurance could be another opportunity. Silk, jade, porcelain, luxury goods made from these fine materials would be a ready audience. And I would expect open-mindedness to a luxury hotel built on service fit for an emperor. The key in any of these examples is leveraging what consumers already know about China, sometimes quite traditional, and using brand-driven innovation to update them in modern and relevant ways. Blue ocean thinking, no doubt, but being the first brand to tell the story of modern China is just too irresistible to ignore.
Thanks, Jonathan. With me now is Eric Li, Managing Director of JWT Shanghai, Ili Papianik, Founder and Design Director at Centaury, and Eva Wei, Senior Consultant at R3. Now let's talk about Chinese brands going overseas. The talk has been going on for many years, but for some reason we're still not there. Westerners buy Chinese brands not because they think it's cool and they want to own it. They buy it because they're cheap. So what should these companies do to reverse this image?
Well, I think you go back to the fundamental. You have to have a good product in order for people to recognize it, because of the user experience and the word of mouth is the most important things. And the other thing is that you have to respect your own brand, and you create a brand and believe it that it valued for something.
Yeah, well, I think the reason for this phenomena is because it's very deeply rooted in the culture of Chinese merchants. They just sell product, and they actually manufacture product, and then they sell the product. And for traditionally in China, brand is not the modern concept of brand. It's like the name of shop in Chinese is 字号. It's just like that. So when they expand overseas, they have to do the discount thing because they just chase profits. It's not like I want to build up a brand. So if they want to change this thing, they have to do a lot of things. The first is they have to have a very clear brand strategy. Maybe something like they have to keep the consistent communication on the same philosophy or faith that they believe, such as a brand thing, like Apple, they believe that the human being should be the master of technology, but not, the servants of the technology. And the second thing is they need to learn how to speak to the world in an international language, not just in the Chinese way. Like in China, most of the local brands, they like to invest a lot of money on the TV advertisement to CCTV. However, I don't think this will work overseas.
Also, I would say that if your question is much on export, I mean, Chinese brands going export, I think we're looking for desirability of brands, and therefore I think that from a Western point of view, what we felt is for years China has been considered as a more an industrial a place where you would be subcontracting manufacturing. So we can see that there is a metamorphosis of this industry from a subcontracting industry to a brand industry. But if we want to build Chinese brands for export, I think we are looking for brands that have a Chinese element in it, so that actually a Chinese brand would become specific, original. So we're looking for an originality.
I don't think that the status that we have is related to the Chinese culture. I don't think that our cultural background prevents us from creating a brand for the world. I think it's just the stage of the development. If you look at Japan, and then now it's Korea, 10 years later could be China. It's just we are so easy to copy things and massively producing and selling at a cheap price because it's easy money. But when the money is not that easy, then people start to need to create a brand. We have to make money. But for the past 10 years, it's easy for people to just create the brand by, create a business by selling more product, develop the distribution. But we will get past this stage and people will start to invest in brand, and then we will see our day in the future. So
this goes against what Eva said just now, though. Eva seems to think that there is an element of Chinese culture in it. Am I right, Eva?
Yes. And actually, I agree with what Eric was mentioning, that actually it depends on different of industries and sometimes depends on the different of companies. For example, like Herborist, why does it choose Sephora and why does it choose Paris? It's because it's in the beauty industry. It needs to get accepted by Paris so that it can be an international brand. However, we know that there's also another very famous Chinese brand, is Huawei. Why does it choose Africa and the Middle East first? And then it will go to Europe maybe and America. It's because for the B2B business, if they want to build up a good brand, they need to win as many as clients first and build up very successful cases. And then, then they can, show their clients that, this is our successful case. And then they can accept them. They can compete with the mature players.
Ellie, I know you were involved with the Herborist case from ground up. So tell us about the strategy.
Well, the first thing I have to say is when we began to work with Herborist, Herborist was already a brand on the market because in 2008 they already had, I think, 500 point of sale on the Chinese market. So actually the Jawha group had a joint venture with Sephora in China, and I think Sephora was really interested in this brand because it was a unique brand. It was, we talked just before about the originality of a Chinese brand, but this was typically an original brand that you couldn't find anywhere on the market. So Sephora was really excited by a cosmetic brand based on the Chinese traditional medicine. But they said to Herborist that they had to do something in terms of image and packaging and the style, what we call the style platform. And so we began to work in joint venture with the design group of Jawha on the Herborist case. And what was very interesting was at the beginning they wanted to renovate the brand only for export. And I think we convinced them to think it over and renovate the brand for the Chinese market and export.
How are they doing now in the Chinese market in terms of sales?
They're doing very good. You know, this brand had like a 100% growth rate every year for the last 5 or 6 years.
I have questions. How much involvement Sephora has in creating the brand? Or what kind of contribution Sephora have?
Is Sephora only the sales channel, or did they participate more than that?
Oh, Sephora is a sales channel. What they did, you know, which I think was very interesting at the beginning, they pushed Herborist to see the brand differently. They just said, we're very interested because the brand concept is great. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's they saw that this brand had the potential to become one of the first Chinese brand on the market that claims its Chinese origin. So that's, for me, that's the great thing about Sephora push on the subject. But Sephora didn't participate in developing the brand. Mm-hmm. I think it was really the Jawha responsibility, and it was our work in cooperation with the design team and the managing team of Herborist to do the development.
Was there anything you would have done differently about it?
No, you know, it's difficult to
look back.
Not to look back, but to rewrite the history. Right. I think you know, to tell you the truth, the greatest work we did was the teamwork, because you know, when we were contracted on this Herborist case, very humbly, I was asking myself, how can we, as a French team, participate in the success of a Chinese brand that had so much about the Chinese culture and its origin. And so what we did at the very beginning was asking the Jawha Group to bring one of their designers into our Paris office, which was a great thing, because we avoid, I mean, thanks to that, we avoided really big mistakes about design. And so that was a great decision we took together. That's what I called co-creation, co-design. So this was great. Probably we could have been doing better, but I think the result is quite good already.
How do they reverse the image then? You know, the made in China, the low quality, the mass-produced, the cheaper kind. What do they do?
I was following this process for a long time, and I can see there are many ways. And sometimes it's very difficult to change. So for hire, they just buy a brand, and they do this double brand thing on their products in Japan. It will be a double brand, Hire and Aqua, which is a high-end brand for Sanyo. And for other ways, like Huawei, they are chasing, I think, the most difficult way to do it, like
which is startup and building a brand from scratch. Yeah.
Yes, like that. And some other brands like Herborist, I think they just start from the root. They have a very clear strategy about this brand, and then start from Paris. I think maybe if we have the culture stuff, maybe it's because it's in Shanghai and a very open culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that well, Hire is an interesting case because they have a good product. They actually won one of the 10 most innovative brand in US by Business Week in 2010, the end of 2010. They have a good product. The issue to them, and then most of the Chinese company going outside, is that their lack of infrastructure to build a brand. Be it, you can say it's a marketing team. Like people said that product is a big machine that can churn out brand. But I think Huawei is just they're a big machine to sell product, but not a building brand. They develop the overseas market by considering those are their sales channel. It's same to them that they're selling to the third-tier city, and same to them selling to Europe and US. They're just considering a sales channel. So they don't have that infrastructure to build a brand, or they don't invest enough into it to build infrastructure to build a brand. I mean, that is the barrier. They have to overcome it. They have to give it enough investment to build the infrastructure so that you can have a brand.
What's this infrastructure?
The team, the people, the system, the process.
Once you have the people in place, what do you do then when you're facing
and
a
you
market?
have the system as well, because they try to hire some foreign expert in their company, but just one people cannot change the system. So they need to build in the people, build in the system, build in the process, and then you will have a brand coming out.
Ellie, Eva, and Eric, thank you for being on Thoughtful China today. That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Tudo and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo and Twitter and join our LinkedIn group. See you again.